Welcome to our weekly compilation. Our channel is all about sharing captivating stories that will make you laugh, cry, and stay on the edge of your seat. Stay tuned for amazing stories. Don't miss a moment.
Today, I effed up by thinking divorce was an April Fool's gag. Let me preface this off by blaming all of you, the entirety of Reddit, for desensitizing me and giving me major trust issues on April Fool's Day. So here it goes. Yesterday I got a group text from my wife, Sarah's side of the family, stating there was an emergency family meeting happening that night over dinner at my mother-in-law, Barb's house. I immediately had April Fool's spidey senses starting to tingle, but we haven't all got together since Christmas, so I overlooked it and said we, my wife and I, were in. We were the last to arrive, and it was pretty somber when we walked in. We all sat down at the table, and my wife's brother Tim informed the family that his wife Ashley had been having an affair and they're divorcing. The affair was with a longtime close family friend, Chris, who lived a block away. Chris's wife Jen had caught them when she came home early one day last week and broke the news to my brother-in-law Tim. Both families have been friends for years. They live less than a block from each other. They each have been married for 15 plus years, have 4 kids right around the same age. Honestly, I've always thought both of them were picture-perfect families. Hell, all 4 of them and their kids were at our house 2 weeks ago for a barbecue. Anyways, after airing a lot of dirty laundry and their plans to divorce, how it could affect future family functions, and opening it up to the group of any questions, there was silence. I broke the silence with laughter and a slow clap, saying this was the best April Fool's gag I've ever seen, but I wasn't falling for it. I told Ashley, and especially Tim, they needed to consider going into theater. Their performances were top-notch, and tears seemed genuine. Being the newest member of the family, my wife and I married 6 months ago, this was probably not the best thing to say in hindsight. I probably should not have said anything. Everyone in the room looked horrified. My mother-in-law, who had been crying the entire time, lost all composure. She left the room in hysterics and did not return before we left. Tim just shook his head, and his cheating wife actually let out a brief chuckle before calling me out for being a dumb butt for thinking this was a ruse, then berating me for being so insensitive. The rest of the family sat in silence, shaking their heads as my wife berated me for trying to make a joke out of a serious situation. I'm still dumbfounded. In hindsight, I probably should have sat in silence, but I honestly still feel like I was calling out an April Fool's gag. Too long didn't read. My brother-in-law's wife has been cheating on him. They told the family they're getting divorced. I broke the awkward silence with a slow clap and laughter, saying, I'm no April Fool. You know, I feel like I've mostly been on people's sides in these videos this last week, where people are like, I screwed up, and I'm like, it's understandable. These things happen to everyone. Don't worry about it, buddy. No, you effed up. You effed up real bad. Like, the worst bad. Divorce typically isn't something most people would joke about. Even if you were really confident that it was an April Fool's joke, like, if you want to prove that you weren't fooled, write it down on a piece of paper, fold it up, put it in your pocket, and then when they go, oh, we got you all fell for it, you pull out the paper and you go, didn't fool me, ha 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 ha. But instead, you made the worst gamble. You misread that situation, especially like, well, you guys should go into acting. Your acting skills are so good. What? Why would you ever? Oh my God. I just really. No, but everyone else learn from this mistake. I mean, I don't want to shame this person too much. You made a mistake. It happens. But wow. Don't do that, anyone. Just, if it's something serious, you know, divorce, death of someone, serious illness, even if you think it's an April Fool's joke, treat it like it isn't, because, wow. Am I the a-hole for making a dad joke? Note, my stepdaughter Madeline was about a year old when I married her mother Jessica. Madeline's father died before she was born. Madeline is currently 15 and she's rebelling for almost everything. She did something bad, so while picking her up, I set a punishment for her. Then she said, "You're not my dad, I don't have to follow you." Honestly, I got a bit hurt from that, but I understand that she didn't mean it and that she'd probably change. I just replied, "I'm still your legal guardian for the next 3 years, and as long as you're in my house, you have to follow my rules." That happened about 2 days ago. So our family was going grocery shopping when Madeline said, "I'm hungry, I need food." I decided to be extremely cheeky and say, "Hi, hungry, I'm not your dad." My son just started to laugh uncontrollably. My daughter was just quiet with embarrassment, and my wife was berating me not to stoop down to her level. I honestly thought it was a funny dad joke, and my son agrees. So, am I the a-hole? Edit, I did adopt her, so legally I am her parent. Mini update, I'll probably give a full update later, but here's what happened so far. I go to my daughter's room after dinner and begin talking with her. "Hey, I'm really sorry that I hurt you by the words I said, and I am really your dad. I changed your diapers, I met your boyfriend, and I plan on helping you through college. And plus, I'm legally your dad, so we're stuck together. But seriously, I'm gonna love you like my daughter, even if you don't think I'm your dad." Then I hugged her. She did start to cry. I assume that's good. I mean, you did prove to her that you're her dad by doing a dad joke to her about not being her dad. So that makes you her dad, which, I mean, let's not think too much about that. But yeah, I am glad that at the end you did clarify. You raised her, you adopted her, you're her dad. Biology, get out of here. We don't care about that. If you're an adoptive parent, you're the parent. If you raise that kid, you are their parent. And so we've got that out of the way. And yeah, teenagers, especially around like 15, they're gonna say crap like that. And I think joking about it, I don't think it's that bad. Don't stoop down to her level. Sometimes you have to get on the level with teenagers, and you can't always expect them to hey, get rid of those hormones and emotions that you feel so strongly for a second, come up to my level. No, go down to their level, make a joke. Was it in bad taste? I don't know. I'm not gonna judge, but I think that you took something she said, you made a joke about it, so maybe she could kind of realize how that felt for you, and she learned a bit of a lesson. You got to do a dad joke, and afterwards you got to have a serious talk about it and make amends. I'm no therapist. I don't know if that's healthy or not, but I don't think it makes you an a-hole. I think that it just makes you a parent and you try to find a way to connect, even through a dad joke, and I think that's probably good.
Am I the a-hole for cutting my pregnant sister off financially and telling her having another baby would be irresponsible of her? I'm 22 and she's 25. My sister, Mia's son, is 7 months old and the father is not in her baby's life at all. He basically dipped the week after the baby was born. I've been supporting both of them financially while my sister Mia gets back on her feet and looks for a job to pay the bills all on her own. Fast forward to 2 days ago, she calls me excitedly telling me she has big news. Deep down in my heart, I already knew what she was about to say, and my intuition was confirmed when she said she was pregnant again. She went on and on about how she met a new guy she hadn't told me about and how nice he treats her and the baby, that she really feels like he's the one, and how she can't wait for the family she was supposed to have. I basically laid it out straight to her. She hasn't been dating this guy for very long, and yet she's already pregnant and wanting to marry him simply because he treats her and the baby nicely. He isn't helping with bills or providing in any way. This was not likely to last, and she'll be a single mom of 2. Not to mention how dangerous it is to get pregnant this soon after giving birth. She told me I was being fake and that I wasn't acting like family, that I should support her like our mother is. Turns out our mother is kissing her butt and only enforcing the rose-colored glasses Mia has on the situation. Telling her stories of how our stepdad only knew her for 2 months before he married her and blah blah. I told her that I can't support her or any other children should she decide to go through with this. I essentially said, I'm not pressuring you into anything. This is your choice, but I refuse to be financing this choice. You're on your own, Mia. I can't enable you digging yourself further into holes you can't climb out of because of irresponsible, unplanned pregnancies, and I refuse to. Of course, she didn't take that well. Started crying and saying how I just don't want her to be happy, how much of a bee I am, and hung up. Our mother isn't very happy with me now. I do feel bad. I don't think I worded it the best, nor should I have called her irresponsible. I'm just at my breaking point. Am I the a-hole? I think we can all agree you're not the a-hole in this situation. Maybe calling her irresponsible might have been a slight step too far, but I mean, she is being irresponsible, seriously. But the fact that you're saying like, look, this is your choice, you can do it, but I'm not going to financially support you through this, you're well within your right to say that, you know? She is making an irresponsible decision. I don't know any other way. Any other way to put it. It's really irresponsible. She is just letting herself be led around by the excitement and emotions of having a kid, which I'm sure is wonderful. And I'm sure she loves her current kid a whole ton, all of that stuff. That's great. But yeah, if she wants to have that kid, then she should feel responsible enough to handle the finances herself and with this new boyfriend that she just met and thinks is going to stick around. And maybe it will work out for them. Maybe everything's going to be great. And that's fine. But it's important that you put your foot down early on with this stuff, because if you've been financially helping her in the past, yeah, I think it's important that you be clear right up front, like, look, I helped you before, but this is a step too much. I'm not going to be a part of this, at least financially supporting you. I think that's more than reasonable. You are not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for giving my mother-in-law a fake copy of my house key and exposing her on Christmas dinner? I want to preface this by saying that I, 34-year-old female, married my husband, 37-year-old male, years ago. His mom is snoopy and annoying as F. She can't help it, that is just how she is, as my dear in-laws say. My husband and I purchased a new house recently. My mother-in-law kept pushing to get an emergency key. She promised that she only use it in an emergency, but given the fact that she had an emergency key to our old apartment and walked in on us being intimate twice, but my husband didn't think that it was a big deal, I just couldn't trust her. So I sent her a fake key after she kept pushing, and she had a smug on her face after I hand-delivered it to her. Days passed by, and on Christmas dinner, mother-in-law angrily called me out on the fact I gave her a fake copy of the house key. She shamed me for doing this in front of everyone, but in my defense, I asked her how she found out, and she said days ago when she came over at 4 while my husband and I were out. I reminded her, didn't you promise you wouldn't use it unless there was an emergency? So you tried to get in when there was no emergency and you broke the promise you made to us. She looked red in the face and the other families started staring at some even laughed at her for the face she made. She suddenly got up from her seat and rushed into the kitchen where she had a huge meltdown so loud the next door neighbors must have heard. Literally, I've never heard a 60-plus-year-old woman throw a tantrum like that. Needless to say, dinner went awkward, and my husband and his sister were giving me looks. My husband went off on me in the car and said I lied and manipulated and humiliated and exposed his mom and said he wouldn't have let me get away with it had he known. We had an argument, and he's demanding I apologize to his mom for my childish behavior and for ruining Christmas dinner for the whole family. Am I the a-hole? No. No, you are not. I don't think you're the a-hole at all. What an absurd thing for your husband to get mad about. She lied. Like, Your husband sounds like a little bit of a mama's boy, okay? I'm sorry. And there needs to be boundaries. Boundaries can be very healthy. And there's nothing wrong with being really close to your parents, especially as you get to adult age. You want to enjoy the time that you have with them. I mean, I am now 40 and my parents are in their 60s and I want to enjoy all the time I can with them. I love to go and see my mom and hang out. She is like a friend to me at this point, and it's wonderful, but there are still boundaries, you know? If my mom just came barging into the house whenever she wanted because she had a key, I'd be upset. I'd be like, you can't do that. You need to call ahead, let me know, unless it's an emergency. And it's fine if your husband doesn't want those boundaries. Everyone gets to decide that stuff for themselves. However, your husband also decided to marry you and be in a partnership with you. And therefore, he has to respect your feelings on the matter, which he's not doing. So yeah, maybe you pulled a little bit of a trick just to, be able to call her out on it or whatever. Might not be the best thing, but I don't think it makes you an a-hole. I think it makes your mother-in-law an a-hole, and her little tantrum, that's not your fault. She's a grown woman, and she needs to act like it. Friend Crank called me at my job, so I had him served with a fake paternity suit. 10 years ago, a friend of mine called me several times in my office over the course of a day. I decided at that moment that 1, this would not stand, and 2, rather than entering into a long, protracted quagmire of a prank war, I would use the nuclear option and end it immediately. My friend Mike was a well-known local bartender. I worked at the same bar as a bouncer. And he was very much enjoying single life at the time, facts which I knew I could take advantage of. Soon a plan began to form. I would have him served with a fake paternity suit while he was working at the bar. So I compiled a ton of free online legal documents, not just for the paternity suit, but also income disclosure forms, statements of parental rights, and suggested visitation schedules pending demonstrable proof of sobriety. I filled out all the forms, then smeared what looked like date-received stamps as proof they had been filed and ran copies to make those stamps even more illegible. From there, I crafted a backstory to be included in a cover letter from the fictional mother's fake law firm, the nearby city Family Law Center, on letterhead and all. The mother was an Irish exchange student visiting the area the previous summer. She'd only been with Mike, so she knew the baby, Eliza, was his. The cover letter encouraged Mike to call during regular office hours to discuss arranging a DNA test to affirm paternity. I set up a generic voicemail for the number listed as the office on the letterhead. By the end, the paperwork was somewhere between 20 to 25 pages. I enlisted another friend not known by Mike to serve the documents and instructed him to do so around 10 p.m. on a Saturday evening. I told him to keep the interaction very simple. I wasn't able to be by the back bar because I knew I would be laughing too hard, but based on eyewitness reports, it played out like this. Friend, are you Mike last name? Mike. Yes. Michael middle name last name? Yes. Friend drops folder on the bar. Mike, what's that? Paternity suit, you've been served. Turns around and immediately walks out of the bar. Mike, yeah, that sounds about right. Mike read through the packet, shakily poured himself several drinks, and then ran over to the bar owner, who was aware of the prank, to ask what to do. He also called the number on the letterhead, but sadly did not leave a voicemail. After a solid 10 minutes of intense psychological revenge, the owner finally told Mike he should closely read the last page of the packet. On it, in size 2 font, it read, "Go F yourself, Mike." At which point, Mike ran to the front door and punched me in the chest. Epilogue. Several months later, Mike was on a trip across the country. He left his car at home with his mom, who generously had it washed for him. Mike, for some reason, kept the paternity suit paperwork in his driver's side door. During the course of the car wash, his mother found it and read the entire thing, then called him sobbing in the middle of the night, asking why he hadn't told her about her bastard Irish granddaughter. okay, the mom finding it and thinking that she has a grandchild she doesn't know about and those emotions, I feel a little bit bad about that part of it. The rest of this is perfect because it's not like you strung Mike along for like days and made him panic and all this kind of stuff. You had a friend deliver it. The owner of the bar who was there to supervise this, was there to make sure Mike didn't do anything drastic, It was 10 minutes of panic for him as a get back for all these crank calls and everything. And I'd say, look, if you're going to start crank calling someone, you're entering into a prank war. That is a declaration of a prank war. And what comes next, to certain degrees, is fair game. And I would say that this is the extreme of what is A-okay in a prank war. This is not just A-okay, but expertly done. The details you put into all of this, the amount of time that must have been spent putting this all together, making sure like the stamps and were smudged right and all this kind of stuff, to make sure everything was great, just to give him 10 minutes of like panic and worry. That's admirable. So, bravo. Am I the a-hole for returning a birthday gift I got from my boyfriend after he insulted me about my colorful past? This happened last night, but my phone is still blowing up. I, female 26, dipped into my savings and got Mike, my boyfriend 27, a PS5 for his birthday yesterday. He knew he was getting the PS5 because he told me that the PS5 is the only thing he wants. We've been together for 4 years, so the cost didn't matter. That is until I found out what he thinks about me. Some background. When I was 18, I was involved with Jake, a guy who I met online. We ended things after 3 months, and I moved on shortly after with Adam, a guy from work. I found out a couple months later that Jake and Adam were actually really close friends, but I didn't know Jake long enough to meet his friend group, so I had no idea. After finding out, I took some time off dating. For 2 years later, I met my current boyfriend, Mike. I was upfront and honest with Mike about my past and the fact that I was unintentionally involved with friends. He said he understood and my past didn't bother him. Last night at his party, I showed up with a PS5, and him and his friends were screaming with joy. His best female friend Jessica laughed and said, "I wish I was a thought so I could afford a PS5 too." I looked at her with an "excuse me" look on my face, and she just said, "Never mind," and walked away. I confronted my boyfriend about it, and he said, and I quote, "She's just messing with you. You can't take a joke?" So I pushed further as to why this girl is even calling me names to begin with, and he said, "Well, everyone knows you were a thought before you met me." I asked him to explain how I was a thought before him, and he said, messing with best friends. He then patted me on the shoulder and said that it's okay because I'm not who I was back then, and if he could get over my colorful past and thought mentalities to give me a chance, then I should get over Jessica's comments and give her another chance. I didn't say anything. I got up, took the PS5 from the gift table, and left. He was peed. He literally called me like 20 times, but I didn't care. I was so hurt that I took the bow off and took it straight back to the store I got it from. They happily refunded it. I thought that was done, but Mike and his friends, including Jessica, are berating me for being petty, and they're all saying I brought this on myself by making poor choices. I responded to Mike and told him that he deserves better than me, so find someone who wasn't a thought and get the PS5 from them because I returned it. He started screaming how I'm the biggest a-hole for returning it and how I should be happy he ignored my colorful past. I'm thinking maybe taking it back went too far. Am I the a-hole? Holy crap, no, you're not the a-hole. Your boyfriend, Mike was it? Yeah, is an a-hole. Holy crap, is he an a-hole? A gaper is my opinion, because that's gross. You explained the situation that you didn't know them or anything, and oh my god, people, not dating someone that a friend dated. Friends need to get over that crap, okay? You know what happened when the person that I was with for years, like from high school, after high school, and when we broke up and I knew she had feelings for the person who was one of my very best friends at the time, I said, hey, I know that you have feelings for him. It's totally okay if you two want to pursue something eventually. Please, don't let me stand in the way of that. Guess what? They're married and extremely happy, and I'm extremely happy for them. Wow, what an adult thing to do. So get over that crap, people. I mean, you do what you do, whatever you and your friends are okay with. That's just my stance. Whatever. But the fact that he's holding that against you when you didn't even do it intentionally, and even if you did it intentionally, to bring that up like he did multiple times and stuff, no, not cool. Screw that guy. Like, bring the PS5 back, or better yet, just like keep it for yourself and tell him how much you're enjoying it in your new single life, because Mike can go suck lemons. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend the day before her birthday? I apologize for the length of this. My 25 male, girlfriend, 24 female, had been officially together since the start of April, but had been going out since January. She's never been in a relationship before and is very insecure about that. I reassured her while we were going out that I liked her, verbally or through texts, and bought her flowers, wrote notes, got her favorite snacks, took her to meet my friends, etc. The issue started after we made it official. Every single time we went out or hung out, she would ask if I still liked her. I only liked her if I only liked her as a friend, claiming that she was annoying me, saying that she would reread our texts to search for tone shifts to validate that she was being annoying, etc. I was always stressed about how I phrased anything or worried that I wasn't enough/doing enough for her to believe that I liked her. She constantly crossed boundaries that I had set, saying it was because she wanted to respect my wishes. I lost my mom last year, and the month of May is extremely difficult. It was my first birthday, my brother's first birthday, the first Mother's Day, the first year anniversary spread out over 3 weeks. I asked her not to acknowledge my birthday at all, and she asked for 2 solid weeks if she should give me presents before or after my birthday, and if she could wish me a happy birthday on that day. She also brought up calorie counting multiple times after I said it was triggering and harmful for me. The emotional weight of constantly reassuring her and trying to manage a full-time job where I work nights, grad school, and grief overwhelmed me, and I tried to break up with her a few days before my birthday. She had expressed that she couldn't handle a breakup in person before, so I told her via text that I thought we should take a step back from the relationship to allow her to work on her anxiety and insecurity in therapy before reassessing where we were at and possibly get back together. She wanted to discuss it in person, so we set a date 4 days later. I didn't text her during those 4 days to give her time to figure out what she needed to say. When we met up in person, she told me she cried every day, that she understood if she was too much of a burden, but that she wanted to work through it. I didn't want to make her insecurities worse and felt guilty about wanting to break up and decided to work through it. I sent good morning/night texts every day and tried to relieve her anxieties all week long. I worked into and out of Mother's Day and spent both shifts either being asked what my plans were for the day or hearing other plans/how they celebrated. I functioned at the bare minimum. She texted me that day that she hoped I had a good day and was there if I needed to talk. I didn't respond because I went straight to bed and only responded to my dad or 2 friends who also had lost their moms. Her birthday was a Tuesday, and the anniversary was that Friday. Monday morning, I canceled our plans that day because I hurt my back at work and was in pain. She decided that we needed to have a talk and asked to FaceTime at her lunch break or meet up later this week. I expressed my emotional state later this week wouldn't be good due to the anniversary, and that because I was exhausted, a text would be best so I would have time to respond meaningfully instead of having a time limit during her break. Her text said that she was constantly aware of how difficult this month is for me and how yesterday could have been hard for you, but that because I didn't respond on Mother's Day, she couldn't understand how I was even okay not talking to her. She checked her phone all day and she just wants to talk to me every day. Waiting around isn't good for me. She also said she didn't understand why I didn't feel like I could talk to her. I didn't even talk to my best friend of 6 years, only 2 people who have gone through this. I was barely functioning. For me, bringing my mother and grief up like that and making how I coped about her crossed a massive line, especially as the entire relationship was me always working to reassure her and not having any stability or security with her. I was already in a bad place that Monday, and I told her that bringing my mother into this felt disrespectful and uncalled for, and that was an unhealthy dynamic, and I couldn't work through this anymore. She hasn't responded, and I feel bad that I broke up with her the day before her birthday, but she brought it up herself that day and during one of the hardest weeks of my life. Am I the a-hole? You know, I usually love to throw out whatever advice I can because, I've lived for a while now. I've gained some experience and knowledge, but this is a really tough one. I don't think you're the a-hole here. I want to say that. I don't necessarily think she's an a-hole either. I don't know that there's an a-hole in this situation, just some people that really need to work through some stuff. You are clearly dealing with a lot on your plate, and I don't think that's an amount that should preclude you from being in a relationship or anything. You made your boundaries very clear, which is important. So I think you did just about the best that you could, and holding off from breaking up with someone just because a birthday or some event is coming up, that's always so tricky because it's well, you don't want to ruin her birthday by breaking up with her, but you also don't want to oh, it's her birthday, now let's get together and celebrate and let me lie and act like everything's fine when I know in my head I'm going to break up with you. There is no win in that situation. But I do think being honest and truthful is probably the best course of action. And so I don't think you're an a-hole. And I do think that she really does need to work through some stuff. I've been semi in her shoes. It doesn't sound nearly so bad, but I struggled a lot with my self-worth and confidence in relationships, especially in my early 20s and stuff. It's tough, and I took quite a while off of dating there and really had to work on myself and figure out what was wrong there. And, it's not an easy process, but I'm glad that I did. I'm not saying that's what everyone has to do, just stay out of a relationship until you're fixed. I don't know. I don't have answers. That's something that you should talk to a professional about. But it sounds like whatever she was dealing with was really affecting her relationships. And I hope that she's sought some help and got better. Am I the a-hole for not eating food my girlfriend's parents made at family dinner? My girlfriend of 4 years has a different cultural background than mine. Her parents are not from America, and family and meals are very important to them. I grew up in America, and while we had holiday dinners and maybe a Sunday dinner every couple of weeks, for the most part, Mom or Dad made something and then we ate it where and when we wanted. I eat dinner with my girlfriend's parents every week, and I love it. It is important to her, and I have no problem with different cuisine. It's all delicious food. However, I did not eat a lot. Growing up, I was very overweight and saw a nutritionist, stuck to a calorie deficit and worked on my portions, and I've been at a healthy weight ever since. My relationship with food has changed, and I no longer have the desire to tear through 2 double-quarter pounders anymore. My girlfriend's parents seem to get offended that I get small portions of things and don't fill my plate up a second time. They will make maybe 5 to 6 different food options, and I'll get a little bit of everything because I want to taste it all. At some point, every time I'm there, they ask me if I didn't like the food. They mention the small portions and how I never go back for more. I just honestly tell them that I don't overeat. They've never made a scene about it to me, but I guess they've been discussing it with my girlfriend while I'm not there. A couple of days ago, my girlfriend told me that her parents feel offended over how little I eat, which A little is a 100% full plate with a bit of everything made. And some days I eat less or some days I eat more. It really depends. If I skipped breakfast, had a light lunch, I might fill up more for dinner. But if, for example, I got a decent breakfast, work catered sandwiches that day, I'm going to get a normal, small size dinner. My general goal is to have equal-sized meals each time, but with a busy work life, that's not always possible. So some days I don't have any food until family dinner and I'm eating more than usual. My girlfriend asked me if it were possible that I could eat a bit more just for them one day a week. She didn't push or demand, just asking if it were possible. I told her that I don't want to ruin my mended relationship with food. I don't understand why the parents are so offended. I always pack up Tupperware and eat it throughout the week because it's delicious food. I don't want to disrespect her parents, though. I mean, obviously you're not the a-hole in this situation. I don't think you're being an a-hole at all. I mean, you're trying everything, you enjoy it, and you're getting a full plate worth of food. And yeah, I mean, different people, different families, maybe even different cultures, I guess I don't know for certain, have different ideas of what's expected at the table. Like what is, what's the sign of having enjoyed a good meal? Like I remember growing up hearing a thing like, oh, in Italy, belching at the table is a sign to the chef that they did a good job. I don't know if that's true or just, rumor passed around, grade in middle school or whatever. Who knows? But yeah, I guess for some cultures, maybe they, having seconds is a sign to show that you do really like it. But yeah, as you said, back before you maybe had an unhealthy relationship with food and you don't want to start pushing that. And I can totally respect that. I've had that same issue and I've definitely had to learn portion control and all that. So yeah, I'm with you. Best I could say is maybe first time around, go up and just if they've got all these different foods, just get less, just get half of each of the things and spread it out a bit, make it look like the plate isn't so full. And then you're like, oh, that was so good. And you go up for more and try the rest of the stuff and maybe a little bit more of something you really liked and still eat the same amount, but it just looks like more because you're going for seconds. I mean, because I don't know, otherwise you've tried to be respectful. I don't know what else you tell these parents to be like, look, this is just my way. This is my culture. Please respect it. I don't know. I don't know. Folks in the comments, what would you do in this situation? Because that's my best guess, but maybe that's wrong. I don't know. Also, what is your culture like with this kind of stuff if you come from non-American countries? Because I'd also really like to know that. If there are any Italians, is the burping thing true? Am I the a-hole for telling my brother about the things my parents were saying about his girlfriend behind their backs? My brother, 26 male, and I, 22 female, have a very rocky relationship with our parents, 61 male and 58 female, to say the least. While my brother was able to move out almost as soon as he turned 18, I have stayed with my parents for financial reasons. Because of this, my brother barely ever calls or texts our parents. Last week, my parents invited him to his girlfriend, a 20s female, over for dinner. I'm pretty sure that it was supposed to be a peace offering or some sort of thing. The evening went relatively smoothly, and my parents managed to be civil while they were around. That changed when my brother and his girlfriend left, though. Almost as soon as we were alone, my mother started going off about how she didn't like the girl and how she was sure that she was taking advantage of my brother somehow. For context, both my parents grew up poor, but are now doing very well for themselves. Mom kept going on about how that girl was just using my brother. This didn't sit well with me because the woman she was accusing wasn't there to defend herself, and because I know how much my brother cares for her. I challenged my mom on that, but she pushed back about how she knows girls like that and how boys like my brother have to be very careful. She didn't flat out call her a gold digger, but it was very much implied. Dad didn't really say anything himself, but he kept nodding along and pretty much agreeing with what my mother was saying. Again, none of this sat well with me, so once I got a moment alone, I called my brother and told him everything. He thanked me for telling him and has apparently blocked my parents everywhere. My parents asked if I told them about what they said, and I didn't even bother denying it. They're now accusing me of betraying them and saying that I wasn't supposed to share what they consider to have been a private conversation. They also kept saying how I should put family first, and that's what they were doing when they voiced their concerns about the girlfriend. So, am I the a-hole? So, I don't know. I'm a little bit on the fence on this one because on one hand, there is kind of an unspoken rule about, private conversations. Sometimes people just need to vent and they'll say things that, maybe other people don't want to hear, but I think it can be healthy to get that stuff out. But at the same time, this kind of feels like it was crossing a line and going into more like gossipy territory and stuff. And that stuff's not cool. I don't like gossiping. And also, we don't know these parents. We don't know their history with possibly sabotaging their kids' relationships or just their well-being in general. So I'm kind of up in the air on whether or not this was really an a-hole move or not. But I'm going to trust that these two probably know their parents better than we do. And there's probably a history there. They did indicate as much that it's not been the greatest relationship at the beginning of their post. So I'm going to say probably I don't think it's an a-hole move to share that kind of stuff because that sounds like sabotaging territory that they're leaning into. And giving your brother a heads up, I think it's a good thing. Once again, I'm not 100% sure on this one, but folks in the comments, because I do go in and read them. Not all the time and not all of them because sometimes there's a lot, but I do still like to check. So let me know what you think. Am I the a-hole for how I responded to a friend at my friend's birthday dinner? Hello, I'm part of a friend group of 5 girls, all 20 to 22 years old. We live in Europe and this post is translated to English. My friend A had her birthday dinner with the group yesterday. A's friend B is 22 and a SAHM. I am a university student. Yesterday, when B arrived late, she looked at me and said, "You look like crap." Not very nice, but true, so fair enough because I really looked like crap. Why? I have a lot of courses that I have to attend and I cannot delay them. The exams are coming. I'm studying for more than 90 hours per week without counting the lectures. I'm also working, although only 3 hours a week, with preparing at home for at least 2 more hours. I am stressed and I fear that I cannot pass these exams. I kind of developed insomnia due to the stress, so I have not slept for the last 3 to 4 days, and you can see it in my face. I'm starting to think that if I die right now, at least I don't have to do the exams, but I think I'll feel better again after the exams. I didn't even want to go to dinner because I just have so much to do, but I care about A, so I went. I said, "Yeah, I'm very tired from studying." She laughed and said her usual mantra, "You don't know what tired is. I have 3 kids. Talk again about it when you also have 3 kids. You could have at least put on some makeup." Now, I don't really know what happened to me because we are all used to this kind of comments from her. But I snapped. I told her exactly how tired I am. I told her that she isn't the only one tired and that her gatekeeping being tired is annoying and also shows what a selfish person she is and that being empathetic for one time would not kill her. I followed saying that I am, without doubt, more tired than her since all her kids are out of the house for 10 hours a day. Good daycare since her husband has a good job. And all she has to do is cleaning and not even cooking because her husband does this. Moreover, she has her mother-in-law taking care of night duties because she and hubby are too tired. She told us all this herself, while I have to clean and cook and do all by myself. I think in the end I was kind of screaming because when I looked around, people were staring at us. She asked A if she had anything to say, and after A didn't say anything, she told me I was a childish bee and to go to hell. Then she left. I think A was just too shocked to react. After that, I started crying, and I immediately apologized to A for ruining her birthday dinner. A was kind and told me not to worry about it and that she would have a chat with B later. The other girls messaged me after we left saying that I had to apologize to B, but that I was insensitive to her struggles and that it was not okay to bring her home situation to the discussion. I wrote this during another sleepless night and am only posting this now because I still don't know if I was in the right for responding like that. I mean, I still ruined A's birthday dinner and I could have just ignored her comment. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused at the others saying that you shouldn't be dragging her home life into this. What do they mean? It's not like you're bringing up like, oh, these traumas and stuff that she's had to deal with. How unfair of you. You're bringing up the fact that it's like, you have daycare helping you, and your husband does the cleaning, and your mother-in-law helps you this and that. Like, I don't get that. You're not slinging stuff at her. You're trying to make your point that it's like, hey, I know being a parent is tiring, but you have help. You have a lot of help. And you, the person writing this, are doing all your stuff yourself. So, yeah, no, their whole, whatever these other friends are saying, they need to shut the hell up because that's ridiculous. Maybe it was a little out of line to explode like that at a birthday dinner. I don't think it makes you an a-hole though, because I am sorry, parents, you do this a lot, okay? When other people are dealing with a whole ton of stress and work and they're tired, you always like to be like, oh, but you don't have kids. You don't know what tired is. I know parenting is hard, okay? I'm not a parent. I know plenty of parents. I have some. Parenting is a very tough thing, especially in those early years. A lot of sleeplessness. It is exhausting for sure. You don't own being tired. Okay? You don't own being exhausted. This person is doing a ton of college coursework. That stuff is brutal. It's only gotten more brutal over the decades. And you don't get to just own being tired and don't just sling that around like it's an excuse. And also, the way she said that you looked like crap and judged you for not wearing makeup, no, I'm sorry. Screw that person. She deserved what she got. You're not an a-hole. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.